Hi, good afternoon. Thank you everyone for being here. Here in a moment, you're going to hear from two law enforcement leaders in the community. First, Colonel Heston Silbert, the Director of the Arizona Department of Public Safety, and also U.S. Marshal for the District of Arizona, David Gonzalez, here to speak to you about some of the incidents that have occurred in the last few days that are impacting law enforcement. And with that, again, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our Colonel Heston Silbert, Director of the Arizona Department of Public Safety.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to touch on a couple issues this morning, or today. This morning at 8:53 hours, one of our troopers was ambushed in the area of 37th Avenue in Portland. Our troopers were in this area initially to serve a body warrant for a subject who was wanted. One of our troopers was sitting in his car, uninvolved. They hadn't begun the search for the suspect yet. And while sitting in his car, completely unexpectedly, he was ambushed. I want to provide you some of the suspect information that we have thus far in the shooting, and right now that is relegated to a vehicle. Right now it appears to be an Infiniti four-door sedan, silver in color. Year is approximately 2013. It has custom chrome wheels, and we'll be posting information behind me with anybody who has information that can provide us help or assistance with locating this vehicle. It would be greatly appreciated. That suspect is currently outstanding. That suspect facilitated our primary suspect, who was the shooter, in attacking our trooper. As our trooper sat in his vehicle, the suspect vehicle approached him. He was facing southbound on 37th Avenue. The suspect approached from the south northbound, and as he approached our trooper did not understand at the moment how much danger he was in. Within seconds, the suspect exited the passenger side of the vehicle with an AK-47 that you will see pictured here. The AK-47 is a short-barreled weapon. We're called an AK-47 assault pistol. Subject exited the vehicle, and he began to shoot at our trooper as he exited his vehicle. Our trooper was clearly visible in his vest that said police. There was no question. It was an ambush, and he was identifiable as a police officer. As you can see in the pictures that will be provided behind you, you can see two bullet impact rounds from the suspect into our trooper's vehicle. Had the trooper not had the wherewithal and the ability to quickly exit his vehicle and engage the suspect, undoubtedly he would have been shot or killed. One of the things I want to speak to today is some of the violence that's going on against police officers, both in the state of Arizona that occurred 2 days ago, to the court security officer who works with Marshal Gonzalez at the courthouse, as well as the attacks we saw in the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department in Compton, and the attack that happened on our trooper today. Every day on my belt, I wear a shroud. Years ago, I kept that shroud on a desk or a shelf in my home, and if a law enforcement officer was killed or fell in the line of duty, I'd go fetch it and I'd put it on my badge. Unfortunately, what I've found in the past few years is that I have to keep it with me at all times because the job has become that dangerous. Thus far this year, 74 law enforcement officers have been killed in the line of duty in the United States of America. Unfortunately, I don't hear a lot of people speak to that. Every day these men and women come to work. They don't have ill intent. They don't have violent intentions when they leave their home. They're coming to work for the communities they work in, the states they work in, the federal agencies they work for, and to serve people. And 74 of those people lost their lives. And today, but for fractions of an inch, and the ability of two state troopers to respond quickly and affirmatively to a lethal threat, we were probably an inch from me taking this shroud off my belt and putting it on my badge today for one of our troopers. I'm disgusted by the actions of people toward law enforcement that I've seen take place in this country over the past several months. I understand some of these things have happened over a course of years and time, but what I've seen recently is abhorrent. Our hope is to get your assistance in apprehending the suspect that is outstanding, who facilitated the commission of this crime. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Marshal Gonzalez to speak to the shooting of his officer that took place 2 days ago.
Thank you, Colonel. The shooting at the San Jose O'Connor Federal Courthouse 2 days ago has been reported on some, but I just thought to give a little bit of information that you might be aware of. But on Tuesday morning about 11:15, our court security officer, Steve Ford, and court security officers are the individuals who work on contract with the United States Marshal Service, and while on duty are considered Special Deputy United States Marshals. CSO Ford was doing his job screening vehicles as it entered the San Jose O'Connor Courthouse. A UPS truck pulled in, which they do usually every day, and his job was to screen the truck, make sure the usual stuff, there weren't any bombs or those kinds of things in there. As he got to the back of the truck, he heard someone say, "Hey." He looked back, and an individual who's been identified already started shooting at him. The first bullet hit him square in the chest. He was pushed back. He immediately removed his service gun and fired 6-7 rounds at the car as it sped by. The person was eventually arrested, and that investigation is being conducted by the FBI now, and the situation and the motives for that will be determined and are coming clear every day. Now, we believe, unsubstantiated, that this individual who shot Court Security Officer Ford was looking to shoot a police officer that day. We think maybe a Phoenix police officer because he'd been circling the block a couple times. First person he saw was CSO Ford when he opened fire on him. As Colonel Siebert has mentioned, there's this unspeakable theme that's going on in our country right now involving police officers. Not just the shooting and killing of them, but targeting by street gangs, officers that are threatened with intimidation through social media, receiving threats when involved in shootings, regardless of the circumstances. And it's in my career, both as a DPS officer and now as a U.S. Marshal, never seen anything like this. We've had trends before, but nothing that has reached this level, and the rhetoric that has been going on nationally. Now, we ask yourself, what do we do about this? What does law enforcement do about this? Yes, we can change protocols. We can look at training, all these things that have been discussed over the last 5-6 months. But in my opinion, it's all of us have to be and get involved in this situation. Law enforcement, we have our role, but it also is going to take our elected officials, our community leaders, and just the citizens of our communities to stand up and say, we're not going to take this anymore. Our job is to maintain the rule of law, and always will be, and we'll continue to do that regardless of the situation that we are facing. But I guess what I'm saying is we need help also. And we all understand that people are angry. We get it. The other part of this thing is we are in the middle of a lot of these situations, and for any of the issues that are going on in society, reflect back on law enforcement because we have to respond to those. Whether it's mental health issues, the social issues, school issues, issues involving our budget, poverty, whatever the case may be, we have to deal with those issues in one form or another. And it's going to take all of us working as a community and working as a team to help resolve these issues. And they didn't start 3 months ago. and it didn't start a year or two ago, and it's going to take us some time to work through this. And I think as a community and as a nation, we have to all come together to resolve the issues that are going on in America. And the two incidents that happened the last 2 days here in Phoenix just shows how important that is, and that it all comes home eventually, and it affects all parts of America. Thank you.
Any questions?
What is the department doing for the troops out there as far as safety? I know, like, the city of Phoenix has doubled up in some spots.
The Department of Public Safety, for lack of a better word, doesn't have the luxury of two-man units. Our troopers have culturally and historically always ridden in what we would describe as a one-man unit. We work in desolate locations in some cases, and we work in the metropolitan areas. And we ask our troopers to exercise the best officer safety they can, the best judgment that they can. Our troopers go through the most rigorous training, I think, of any agency in the state, and part of that is because we know they're going to be alone. And we understand that threat. I'd like to have the ability to put 2 people in each car. I'd like to have the ability to put 3 in each car. But the fact of the matter is, our duties and the manner in which we have to perform them, our troopers ride in solo units throughout the state of Arizona.
So, Colonel, I want to ask you about the kind of the timeline of how it played out this morning. Are you saying the car pulled up, honked, and were there 2 troopers in the vehicle or just one at a time?
1 trooper in the vehicle, sir.
And were the shots fired while he was still in the driver's seat and then he got out?
It appears as though he was beginning to exit the vehicle because he didn't understand what was going on with the vehicle coming right at him. As he began to exit the vehicle, from what I understand at this time, as he did, the suspect immediately opened up and opened fire on him and the vehicle. And as you can see by the round placement, it struck exactly where the trooper had been sitting. I failed to mention earlier that the suspect was apprehended, and we did have another trooper involved in the shooting who came from another direction when he saw that our trooper was being ambushed.
And it looks like I see around in the driver's side window and then the front windshield. Were those the only, how many rounds did that suspect fire?
We don't know exactly how many rounds were fired yet, sir. We can just tell you which rounds we certainly know were fired, and we certainly know those 2 bullet strikes were fired from the suspect from the AK-47.
How many were returned by your troopers?
I don't know the exact count, but it was a significant amount of rounds for our trooper to be able to suppress the threat of the suspect.
Did 2 troopers fire or just 1?
2 troopers fired.
Did any of their bullets hit the vehicle?
They did hit the vehicle, sir?
The suspect's vehicle as he was driving off.
I don't know that, sir. I'm not sure.
Can you talk about the blue alert? I know you implemented it maybe last year. Is this the first time it's been used?
Yes, it came out, and quite frankly, came out as a bit of a surprise to us, but our Counterterrorism Center sends out the blue alert. They're sent out to notify the public if there is there's been a lethal threat to a law enforcement officer, whether it's been an aggravated assault, shooting, things such as that. And if we have suspect information, suspect description, vehicle description, that's what the blue alert is used for. It's similar to a silver alert, but it's to garner the public's assistance and our ability to apprehend a suspect.
So you guys didn't push the blue alert out? DPS did not?
We did. It came from, when I say it came from the Counterterrorism Center, it came from DPS. There was a problem with it, though. When we sent it out, somewhere between our communication with us and the vendor, all the information we wanted put out did not go out, but we're not sure where that glitch happened. So all of us, I think everybody in the state basically was looking at it saying, what am I looking at here? There's a blue alert, and people were alarmed, but they're waiting for the information as to what the blue alert was about. That was not lost on all of you. It was lost on us as well. And so it's a part of the system that we have to remedy.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to hear glitch, and that sounds kind of like a cop-out, right? So, I mean, have you gotten to the bottom of it? It's been 5 hours now since I think it went out.
We're definitely trying to get to the bottom of it, sir, and the glitch is not a cop-out. I wish it were, but it's not. We genuinely don't have the answer yet, and I don't want to provide you bad information.
What kind of communication are you having with your deputies and about to be on alert, but yet don't be and so much of an alert that, you know, something that they may cause something that was ill intent, someone coming up to them, asking them a question, and they're on guard, fearing that something might happen to them. How do you have these communications with your deputies?
Well, with our troopers, we make approximately 500,000 traffic stops a year, and our troopers do that with the utmost professionalism. When I look at the lack of complaints that come in on our troopers and the professionalism and the manner in which they carry themselves and interact with people, I'm proud of our agency, and I'm proud of the manner in which the men and women of our agency conduct our business. I want them to be hyper-vigilant. It's part of our motto, courteous vigilance. But I also want our troopers to protect themselves. And at the end of the day, our troopers are going home. And I think people need to understand, if you attack a law enforcement officer, if you point a gun at a law enforcement officer, if you show a lethal threat to a law enforcement officer, you are going to be met with lethal force. And that is one of the most difficult parts of the job for our people. And I don't think many people really grasp that. They don't empathize with what the law enforcement officer goes through when that has to take place. But our troopers are going to protect themselves. At the end of the day, they are going to protect themselves.
You know, I gotta ask, you just mentioned the number of traffic stops you guys do every single year, and the vast majority of them don't end like this, and this wasn't even a traffic stop. Some people are going to wonder if this is politically motivated at all. We're right on the cusp of November. One presidential candidate is the law and order president. And a lot of people are saying, you know, it feels like potential reach to try and connect this with potentially a guy from a couple days ago with LA. So I gotta ask, is politics play a role in this press conference, or kind of what we're hearing from law enforcement?
From me?
From law enforcement in general, about the attacks on law enforcement. Like, I mean, this happens, as you mentioned, with increasing frequency, I think with your words, but we're hearing this now in a press conference format ahead of November.
Yeah, you got the wrong guy if you're talking about politics. I have no clue about politics. All I know is one of our troopers was attacked today and was ambushed.
Have you guys done anything different around the courthouse with security? I noticed that there are marshals that walk the perimeter.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have a situation like this, you make adjustments to your protocols, and we are doing the same thing. And I don't want to get into some of those protocols, but we obviously are doing that. And you asked what I tell our deputy United States Marshals and things like this is situational awareness. And we keep focusing on that. Is like, just be aware of what's going on. Don't put yourself in a situation that could get you in trouble. And this also goes and would apply to any citizen who does not want to be a victim of crime. Being aware of your surroundings, and we hear that all the time, but just the situational awareness that goes along around you all the time, whether you're driving, you're walking, whatever it may be. And we just keep stressing those issues.
Thank you all.
Colonel, I want to ask you
We're
real
done.
quick about the motive potentially on this, because you've had a couple
We'll
hours.
get with you later, Zach.
I mean, Bart, I'm still gonna finish the question. You've had hours to now talk with this guy. Has he cooperated at all with you as far as describing why he would fire?
We'll get back to you.
I think it's a valid question.